Hey guys, today we'll be taking a look at the 80Light Light 400, a powerful 400 watt second strobe with a built-in LED modeling light. It can either work on mains power or from a battery pack that clips onto the light. In previous videos, you may have seen me use big LED lights for photography, and this is what works for me most of the time, especially since I also shoot video and I'd rather not invest in two separate lighting kits for my studio. But there are situations where a strobe is better. First of all, flashes give you a lot more power with more portability and smaller batteries. Here are three examples, all shot at ISO 100, f22 and 1/100th of a second shutter speed. The continuous light of the Pixapro 100 watt LED light, a full power flash from the 80Light Light 400, and a full power flash from a Godox Speedlight, which is also powered by a lithium-ion battery, not AA batteries like most speedlights. I'll put links below to my videos about these other two lights. As you can see, the 100 watt LED light was much weaker, and then the Speedlight was quite a bit brighter, and then the Studio Strobe was even brighter than that. For some uses, strobes work better for creating stopped motion, although you can also get good results with some continuous lights. See my video about using the Pixapros for high-speed photography. Some strobes can also overpower ambient lighting. We'll take a look at that in a minute. A big downside to strobes is you need to take a photo in order to see your lighting results, which in my opinion can mean a longer time to set up the shot and get the results you want. And I think this makes LEDs much better as learning tools too. The modeling light here is a nice addition. It's about as powerful as one of these small LED lights from Aputure. This can't change brightness, it's limited to just 100% output, so really don't purchase this with any intention of using it for video. Now, unlike LEDs, the bulbs of large strobes are very fragile, and here would cost about £30 to replace if I'm not mistaken. Mine came with a small Bowens mount bowl reflector and front diffuser, although the diffuser can fall off very easily. Most of the light modifiers will also protect the bulb in use, but you need to be super careful when changing modifiers and when transporting the light. It came with a small shoulder bag, but the padding on it is very thin, so I'd keep this in a camera bag or a dedicated lighting case. The flash recycle times are very quick here, but I didn't do any scientific comparisons or tests. Here at 1/16th. This is ridiculously bright. I'm actually having to cover my eyes when doing that. And here at 1/4, and at full power, that is crazy bright, and this is actually performing really well considering how powerful the light is and that it's running off a battery. And this did come with a mains power adapter as well, so you don't have to use it off the battery. By the way, if you want to learn how this menu works and how the menu works on the control unit, then I have a separate video explaining how those work. They're actually very easy to use once you know what all the buttons do. And this one I would say is a great menu. This one I think could be improved, but if you know what the buttons do, then it's very usable and gives you a lot of control over many lights. This light has two features that are important for many strobists. First of all, HSS or high speed sync. This allows you to use shutter speeds faster than 1/200th of a second, which allows you more control over environmental light. For example, at 1/800th of a second, the environment would be very dark and the flash is the main light source. Or you can add more ambient light by using a lower shutter speed. Keep in mind that even though to us flashes look instantaneous, most strobes actually have a longer duration of light at higher power settings, like this. So if your shutter speed is shorter than the duration that the strobe puts out light, you lose brightness. For example, at maximum output power using this strobe, 1/200th of a second shutter speed is slightly dimmer than 1/100th of a second shutter speed. And you can use this at full power at 1/8000th of a second, but keep in mind that that full power takes a while to actually output. And because of that, that 1/8000th of a second shutter speed will also reduce the power of this. So it will actually be dimmer in the image. You will see the same thing happening even with strobes that cost thousands of monies. Of course, some perform better than others. I'm not sure exactly how this one compares as I couldn't find flash duration specs for it. This is another reason I like my little Godox, although some speedlights have an even shorter flash duration than this one. The second important feature is TTL, or in simple words, automatic flash brightness. This can be important for some shooters, and surprisingly it works pretty well, which is not the case with most third-party flashes that claim to have TTL. I had to keep my flash exposure compensation at about -3.5. Then the exposure results were pretty reliable. I didn't use it enough to say if it will work in every situation, but many others barely work at all, so this is a huge improvement. And I didn't have any failed exposures once I set the exposure compensation for a certain lighting setup. The battery pack feels well made and should give about 400 full power flashes, or many more lower power flashes, which is normally all you need, because full power is ridiculously bright on this thing. After the shoot that you were looking at, this battery indicator was showing full power, and it's only gone down to half now after a lot of time playing around with it and doing loads of speed tests with this. Now, I know the controls and menus on the light and the controller very well, but sometimes I still can't figure out why it's not working properly. A few times I was unable to get TTL or HSS modes to work, but I have no idea if it was user error or an issue with the light. And it could also be an issue with the 5D. I have a feeling some settings are changing by themselves, but it's very possible that it's just buttons getting pressed by accident rather than any issue with this. There are a few settings on the light and on the trigger that would prevent the trigger from working at all if any of them are accidentally changed. For example, if you accidentally change group, ID, channel, or this on-off for the wireless. So keep in mind that you do need to know the menus on this and the trigger. There's no easy mode on here. Otherwise you're going to be standing there like an idiot going, why is this not working? The only thing I couldn't understand about this light is the option that here is shown as a little eye that you can turn on and off. And in the manual is called a photo cell. They mean a slave mode. Now I'm going to set my pocket torch to this strobe mode. And let's see how fast this will fire. That is pretty impressive. Then we have a sync port here and a USB port here, which I guess is for updating the firmware. Now the battery needs to be disconnected from there to be charged, so you charge it from this little thing right here, and it came with a charger, of course. And then this can be powered separately just by using the separate power supply. So you can charge the battery and use this at the same time, but this won't charge the battery from the power supply. The backlight on the trigger can turn off fairly quickly, which is a little bit annoying when you're trying to figure out what you want to do or look at the menu to find the option you want. This does have a USB port, so possibly this could be updated with firmware changes, but I'm not sure. Be careful not to press the release button for the battery when moving the light around. The connection from the light to the stand is this handle type thing with an umbrella connection. It's all plastic and I can feel that the little teeth in this connection which hold together are also plastic. It worked, but I don't think this would last very long if you use heavy softboxes. The 80Light 400 is available in Canon and Nikon versions, but my Canon Fit version does not work with my Sony a7S, which is not something I can complain about, but it's worth mentioning. This Canon Fit Godox trigger does work with the a7S, just no TTL and no HSS when used on Sony. Now, how does having a flash compare to just using ambient light? Well, in some situations, it makes an incredible difference. The natural light under the tree here was really boring and dull, and in this situation, having the light at my disposal made a huge improvement. In other situations, I would be very happy with natural lighting. So it really depends on your needs, preferences, locations, time of day, etc. Obviously, ambient light is easy to use and can look great sometimes, but it can be boring, too dim, or sometimes just awful looking, depending on the various things I just mentioned. When I'm shooting personal projects outside, I mostly don't bother taking a flash. In this example, the images look great because instead of using the strobe, I moved the model to an area with better natural light, which was just 20 feet away. When shooting for clients, I always have one or two small flashes, and for bigger setups, I take my LED lights. Now, I'm certainly not saying this is bad, but for my current uses, I won't be using a big strobe like this. So my conclusion is, if you're looking for a really powerful strobe for a reasonable price, this is not a bad light. For my uses, I would choose one or more smaller flashes that don't have an exposed bulb at the front, and one that has a more simple and easy to use trigger system. I would use them as individual lighting sources most of the time, and most of the time they are bright enough, and then place them together, multiple units, when super high brightness is needed. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this useful. If you want to support this channel, then you can get yours through the links below, or watch my other videos about other great lights. I have a favorites playlist with lots of great stuff. For example, my amazing Pixapro light, which is of course what I'm using to shoot this review. Feel free to ask me questions in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Visit my channel for lots more awesome filmmaking and photography videos like lighting techniques, DIY projects, behind the scenes tutorials, cameras, lenses, adapters, shoulder rigs, stabilizers, flashes, LEDs, microphones, bags, straps, studio backgrounds, tripods, float heads, sliders, multi-tools, and lots more cool stuff!